if everybody came back or not yet. So, all right, we'll go ahead and kick this off. Y'all, it is my pleasure today to introduce our guest, Dr. Randall McNamara. He brings an incredible global perspective to the Seven Eagle community and has a background that spans from being a classically trained chef to a leader in international education across the US, China, and Italy. He's currently the VP of Government Affairs at Rouxbe, which is the world's leading online culinary school providing professional grade training to over 600,000 students globally. And y'all, I'm going to post his LinkedIn in the chat so y'all can see, but he's probably got one of the most like diverse backgrounds you'll ever see. So take a gander at his LinkedIn, and then sir, I think I hit everything, but you can add anything I missed and just jump right in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel, and I appreciate you having me. I'm excited, and I'm excited for you, as somebody who is constantly reinventing themselves and putting themselves into uncomfortable situations and transitions. Um, I can somewhat relate where you're coming from. So, as Rachel said, I've done a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things like you guys, and it was only in the last few years that I began to put things together and figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. Um, so I'm this might not be exactly according to script, but I'll tell you a little bit about myself, tell you about our company as well, uh, and then just talk in general about the journey and about the job search and career search and what it is we want to do with our life that's going to give us purpose and meaning. So I am with Rouxbe Global Food Group, and I started with them during the pandemic. My previous career was in running ground schools for uh, culinary arts mostly, and I was a chef before that. Before I was a chef, I was a journalist. And I've been a writer and a researcher during that entire period, and an itinerant traveler and planner. And I've lived in about 12 different countries and been to probably 70 of them for extended visits, not just landing in the airport and going to the bathroom. Spent some significant time there. And when you have that background and experience, you begin to see the world a little differently and not expect everybody to conform to your perceptions and your expectations. And that's kind of what I'd like to get into today. So, I could start out and tell you that the restaurant industry is a $1.5 trillion business. It's one of our largest sectors in the United States. We need 1 million cooks and chefs right now. But probably most of you, all of you, are not thinking about heading immediately into the culinary track. Um, to do that, you don't need special training. You don't need certain education. You can just go to any of the million kitchens, full service restaurants in the United States or in the world and apply, and odds are pretty good you're going to be hired. You'll work your way up. What I'd like to do today is look at the industry from a little bit different lens of what's happened in the last 20 years, and particularly the last 5 or 6 with the pandemic and how it's changed dramatically. Um, so I had mentioned I started with Rouxbe 5 years ago at the onset of the pandemic. I was running a culinary school in Norfolk, Virginia, and the school closed down because of COVID. And through my contacts in the industry, they said, "Hey, come work with us. We're online. We're a remote company. You can help develop programs." That was the extent. I was very fortunate. That was the extent of my job description, was just go make something happen. So on the one hand, while daunting, the most important thing out of that was it gave me the freedom to explore and imagine. And I wish I could say I had it all figured out and uh, organized, and I just needed to get in and bring it to fruition. But let me step back a little bit. So Rouxbe started as an online culinary school, started by professional chefs who were doing catering in the movie business. So that's an area that you might not think of right away. It's like there's an entire industry of private chefs and personal chefs that cater to specific industries. And they were around a lot of amazing videographers and equipment, and they were thinking, well, you know what, we could film what we do and how we prepare food and make culinary education accessible for everybody. We all know that college prices have gone through the roof, and culinary is even more expensive because of the equipment that's needed, the hoods, the inspections, the food, and on and on and on and on. So what they wanted to try to create was a low cost, uh, uh, essentially a first year of culinary training that you would get in a community college, and make it accessible to everybody. This was in 2005. There were many people who still weren't on the internet at that point, much less thinking about putting competency-based training online. So they were really ahead of their time. Um, and they began to specialize in a variety of cooking. So, they started out with the classical French cooking and all the basic cooking fundamentals, and then went into some plant-based and some baking and pastry, and we have continued to expand. But the pandemic threw us and everybody else for a loop in that restaurants were closing. It completely turned our business model on its head. Whereas in the past, many of our customers were large hotel chains. People weren't traveling, and certainly large restaurant groups that weren't hiring. And our model shifted to the domestic market. So people sitting at home and wanting to learn how to cook. Um, and that was really great for our company, but we had to figure out what was the next step for us once we came out of the pandemic. And that's what I began to work on. And so, yes, we have training. You do learn very specific culinary skills that are useful in a professional kitchen. But what we began to add to this was uh, uh, collaboration with professional associations, and specifically aligning our courses to certification programs. And so, whether it's culinary or anything that you're interested in, most fields have some sort of certification. And what we tried to do was, all right, you're going to take a course from us and you're going to get some great content and you're going to learn a lot, but it's also going to help you to progress along if you want a professional certification. We also added college credit. And like I said, working with many professional industry associations, educational associations to kind of really round out our offerings. And then over the past few years, we really made a dramatic shift. Because of my background in managing grants and proposals, and working in state government and federal government, we thought, what if we applied for some contracts? And the first contract we applied for, we got, which is completely unheard of. And the CEO lost his mind and thought, wow, this is easy.
It's not
And
easy.
yeah, I had to remind him that this is more like baseball, where if you're batting 300, you are a superstar. This isn't, 100%. This is a fluke. But we got that first contract, and it really opened up everybody's eyes that we can expand our operations. So that's really what I want to focus on today. We started as a culinary training company, but now We think of ourselves as a workforce company because of our extensive industry contacts. We can certainly find employees. We can connect managers and leaders, and we're seeing the industry from many, many, many different angles, from the home cook to assisted living to high-end hotels internationally. And so we get a real unique perspective on where the industry's going, how people are learning. And what started out, I mentioned we wanted to try to give that first year of culinary training online. And so what it meant was a big course. It was a long course. It takes, I think all told, it takes about 200 hours. That's just screen time. And then, of course, you have to prepare the food as well. So in the schools and colleges that use our program, it can take up to 1 year, if not 2 years, to complete the program. And so what the industry was asking us for is like, we love the content, we love this programming, but we need it in smaller bite-sized pieces. So 1 minute videos, 30-second videos. And so that completely changed our perspective on how to deliver. And what it also did was just change our approach for a business model. And so, starting in the culinary industry, we applied for a Department of Labor apprenticeship status as a group sponsor, which means that we can sponsor anybody anywhere in the United States with a company to do an apprenticeship. And of course, we'll offer the courseware, but we also do the administrative things. And we did this for a few years in very close cooperation with the American Culinary Federation, the ACF. And what they realized is that we were moving much faster and much more efficiently than they were. They had a couple of people in their home office trying to help out, whereas we had a dedicated staff to manage apprenticeships. And so last summer, we officially became the partner for the American Culinary Federation to deliver their apprenticeship programs. That's not enough for me, and I want to continue to replicate this in other industries and other areas because we know how to train. We have a proprietary platform or a learning management system where we can offer these courses, and all we need are experts. So with that, let me just stop and just anybody have any general questions about culinary education, Rouxbe as a company, anything that isn't clear before I go talking about some unusual, what I consider unusual and hopeful trends within our industry. All right, I gave you
I
enough
don't know
time,
if
but
anybody. Oh, Chris has one.
all right, go ahead, Chris.
Hey, I always try to ask questions, you know what I mean?
Appreciate it.
I have a lot of I have some family and I've had some like really close family friends that they want to be bakers, right? Like as an example, or like I do have a almost like a goddaughter of mine. Like I mean, I kind of helped, I watched her grow up from when she was little. She is a baker. She went to culinary school and does that, but they wanted to do um they always have these aspirations to start their own business in like a baking industry. And I find that what I have seen in that is that a lot of times they get discouraged because it's not as either one as easy as they thought it would be, or two as potentially lucrative as they thought it would be. And I just wanted to kind of get your opinion on, somebody that's looking to get into that industry. What's some advice you could give in that regard? Is baking something they should stay away from and maybe consider other types of culinary arts, or what is your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. My general advice is just please do what you enjoy doing. what you love doing. I'm not saying that you know, if you're going to be an artist that you're going to be a millionaire, and it's not going to be tough. But it's it's a lot more fulfilling to look back and do something that you believe in than just taking a job and being paid by somebody else, and you know, your mind is what you're going to do that weekend, or where else you're going to be, or what else you would rather be doing. So along those lines, we just hired a woman who's going to run our high school program. And one of the things that she's going to design, because it's sorely lacking in our industry, is a course on entrepreneurship, on how to start a business. Because normally what happens in our industry is you start working and then somebody gets sick, fired, or they quit or promoted, and then you're in charge, little or no training. And you kind of work your way up. Once you've worked your way up enough, and I'm talking about the traditional fine dining restaurant, once you establish a reputation, and that, then you can begin thinking about doing it on your own. One of the things that I do want to talk about, and this is a great segue, Chris, is the change in the industry. And I'd say it even goes back 30 years, but certainly within the last 15 years, is the rise of food trucks. And what that did is really democratize the entry point. So yeah, you're still going to put out a lot of money, anywhere from 20 to 100,000 to start a food truck, and you're going to have to jump through hoops with the local health authorities. But it's a lot less expensive than signing a multi-year lease and somebody else owning the property, and then you have to, you know, constantly worry about how you're going to cover not only the rent but your labor costs, and on and on and on. It's daunting. And that's why, you know, restaurants are usually started by people who have plenty of excess capital, not by the chefs themselves. But food carts allowed people to get in, have a proof of concept, say, look, we like what we're making, and people like what we're making, and they're paying money for it. So as a matter of fact, I was just at a restaurant this weekend that started as a food truck, and now has expanded to two different stores, or one's a restaurant and one's a bar. And so it's quite a model that's being replicated across the country, and I'm very encouraged by that. Unfortunately, I don't want to get sidetracked and bash our education industry, but unfortunately, when people go to school to learn something like entrepreneurship, the college wants to loop you into a 2-year program. And you're like, I'm an entrepreneur. I got to move quickly. I can't sit in class for 2 years and then open a food truck. So, you know, we're beginning to see some opportunities. And again, I'm speaking to a larger trend. This is not culinary. I'm talking about the larger trend of credentialing, um, where you can get specialized knowledge. There's more than 1 million different credentials out there right now. There's so many that it's absolutely alphabet soup, and nobody can really keep track of it and what's the value of these credentials. But we're trying to get a hold of that through uh, some other efforts that call credentials of value. To So, you know, humbly speaking, where Rouxbe offers credentials of value because we've been vetted by agencies in the federal government. We work with hundreds of high schools and colleges around the United States. I mentioned we work with professional and educational associations. Our curriculum is reviewed by third parties to offer college credit. So it gives it a little stamp of validity when it comes to credentials.
So it
So
also, you said the other day that whatever the military training gives you, you guys can build on top of that, and those credentials just keep building, right?
yeah, oh, without a doubt. And so that's, I can imagine with this group, you have some that you might have done something completely different in the military. You're like, you know what, I really love to eat, and I love to cook, and I love to serve people. culinary might be an interest to me. And then there's other you who may have some sort of cooking experience, whether it's in the military or not, and want to explore it further. And then there's probably others of you like, well, I never even considered food as an option, but it's intriguing. And I can tell you that if you really want to go to one spot and get the depth and breadth of what our industry is doing and where it's going, anybody in the Chicagoland area in May, there's the National Restaurant Show. It's every year. It's the largest gathering, and you will see things that blow your mind, and you're going to eat a lot of pizza and popcorn and hot dogs because everybody wants you to taste their latest products. But
I was going to ask if there was free samples there.
there are a lot of free samples, and but the best thing about it is to go around and talk to companies. It will truly blow your mind, whether you're in culinary or not, what companies are doing and how they're trying to address issues in our industry and how to solve real world problems. So, I mean, that's one. And again, whether it's the Restaurant Association or some other field, to me, these trade shows are going to be your biggest way to immediately see in one place all the players, all the products, all the services. I can't recommend them enough. Now, some of these conferences where it's more about educational, those are great. But if you really want to get in and just kind of speed date with companies, a trade show is the way to do it because you get to talk to the people who are actually in charge, who are the decision makers, who firmly believe in their product and want to share that with you. So I think I've said enough about our company. Any other follow up before I get into um, the industry itself?
Let me see. I don't think I had any other questions regarding that.
All
Just
right.
really,
I'm not going to
how
call on
many
anybody.
opportunity? Oh, sorry.
No. I'm not going to call on anybody, but I do want to see a show of hands. Anybody in the last month went out to eat and took a picture of what you were eating? Nobody? Oh,
I know
you
there's
were
got
in
to
the
be
you were in
some
the mess hall?
Instagrammers.
Okay. Well, social media has fundamentally transformed our landscape and in a good way. And of course, there's plenty of overkill and plenty of examples of how it's some mistakes and a lot of bad health advice out there. But some of the success stories, um, I got you, Nary. You don't have time for pictures. It's time for food. Um, the success stories are overnight. A place can go. Well, I'm raising my hand. I don't know why that happened. I guess because I went like that. Um, Overnight, restaurants can just blow up and be viral just because somebody posted something. And for them, it's normal. This is what we do every day. But for the rest of the world, this is incredible. And so you hear about these things where, just overnight, a restaurant is is overwhelmed. I'll tell you a quick story. I was in Portugal. I was walking around town with a local, and she was showing me some different restaurants and things like that. And I'm like, what's going on over here? Why are all these people standing in front of this building? It's closed. There's nothing going on. She goes, oh, yeah, Anthony Bourdain was there a few years ago, and he ate there. I'm like, really? With all the amazing places to eat in Portugal, people want to line up in front of a restaurant that Anthony Bourdain ate years ago, but they do. And so, social media has really given restaurants a way to get in front of an audience where they don't need a splashy national marketing team and other things like that. So I think that has been a tremendous change in in our industry. I'm sure you've all seen or heard about what is it, like Hell's Kitchen and all that, and all the stereotypes. So we're not even going to go down that route. Uh, I really want to focus on some of the changes and the positive changes and some real interesting potential that I see that you might not have thought about right away. Because of Chris's question, we spoke a little bit about food trucks, but again, it's a way to get in and uh, get a proof of concept without a huge outlay. Related to that is the idea of a pop-up. And I don't know if you're familiar with that concept. You do see like pop-up stores in malls, but pop-up restaurants where somebody will come in and they'll either take over an existing restaurant and cook for a night or a weekend or whatever. Or like I did a pop-up in Japan last month. It was my wife's birthday, and we were staying in a hotel, and they said, "Oh yeah, you can rent our kitchen if you want." I don't remember; it wasn't much at all. It was like $200, and so I'm like, I'll rent your kitchen so I can cook. And then they're like, "Well, you can invite people and sell." And I'm like, I'm not interested in selling, but now I am. Now that I've done this, I'm like, okay, this is something that I can do when I retire. Is just do a pop-up restaurant and go around to different locations in town, and I don't have to buy anything, and I just need to bring my ideas to fruition. So that's another related concept where I think things have really improved. I'm still I'm still out on the on positivity, I'll say, when it comes to ghost kitchens. And that's where there is no sign up on the kitchen or on the facility or the shop. And they're cranking out food to go. Um, eh, so I think it gives restaurants an opportunity to expand into the delivery service where they didn't have that before. But it's one of those things that it's certainly a trend. It's the ghost kitchens where you have shared commissary spaces and again, just buying that equipment and getting things up and going cost a lot. Related to that are all of these delivery apps, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and so on and so forth. So in the past, and I mean like 30 years ago, the restaurant industry was probably the least technologically savvy industry, very resistant to having computers. You might remember the first POS, the point of sale systems that came into restaurants, but for the majority of it, it was a cash operation. We give you your meal, you give us your money, and thank you very much. Now it is clearly a technological industry, and the Instagram social media area, the delivery apps, trying to be more efficient with the purchasing and receiving and the logistics of your food ordering. All of this now we realize that you have to head in that direction. And so what we're going to see in the coming years is some real interesting transition time. And I think, it kind of speaks to you where you are, but our problem as an industry is paradoxical. We have a chronic shortage of trained staff. So we need people. The problem is we're not hiring, and that's because of the economic uncertainty. We don't know if we can expand if grocery prices continue to go up. And so it's a real unsettled market right now. I'm talking more along the fine dining, fast casual concepts. But there's some other areas that you might want to consider if you have any interest in food service, logistics, any sort of even assistance to the military later on in a food service career, and that is some of the commercial um, operations, the food service management contractors like Sodexo, Aramark, Compass, that are either running the mess halls or looking to run mess halls in government facilities. There are plenty of companies that distribute food around the world for the government and for private business. I mean, one of the first jobs that I was interested in was doing contracting for mining companies, and I almost went that route, but I thought, wow, that's going to really take my career in a different direction if I do that. Um, but uh, if you're really looking for a change of pace, but still miss the excitement and adventure of uncertainty and in foreign places. One thing I'm certainly considering it is World Central Kitchen. You might have heard of them. It's Jose Andres's operation. They go into disaster areas with hurricanes and floods and fires. They go into wars areas, Gaza, Ukraine, and they take over existing restaurants and supply chains, and they figure out how to continue to serve meal for people. It's just an incredible mission, incredibly complex. It's global, it's national, and there are several other organizations in the U.S. that focus on specifically on disaster relief. Again, I'm throwing that out there, maybe not as a career, but something as a volunteer opportunity. If you like to cook, if you like to serve, it's a great way to help out your neighbors in a time of need where they need people with a cool head who can deliver under some pretty extreme conditions. So, that I'm throwing that out there.
Well, even just
Um,
sourcing supplies in an environment like that, I mean, that's got, program manager and supply chain manager written all over it. So it's not
e-
just about food, it's about everything.
exactly, but it is related to food, and in my mind, food's related to human wellness, human happiness, and everything else. So it takes on a much larger meaning. And that's a great point, which brings me to some other areas that are really taken off, and I'm so excited to see them. These are community-driven social enterprises. And so you might have a group that is specifically working with reentry or recovery programs that you take the folks who are coming out of those situations, and they need work, they need mentorship, they need guidance, they need structure, and the kitchen with their brigade system and the hierarchy provides that for them. And they also see that they're doing a good job for themselves and for the community. So I'm really excited about this. And they're all over the United States and continuing to go up. But, just throw out a couple of names like Edwin's Leadership and Restaurant Institute in Cleveland. You've got the New England Culinary Arts Training in Boston that works inside correctional facilities before they come out and then follow up with them. Uh, we're all affected by substance abuse and recovery, either through people we know or our families. And there are incredible ways, again, maybe not as a career choice, but volunteer opportunities and otherwise, that work specifically with folks. One interesting concept is the sober kitchen. This is out of Denver, Colorado, and so the deal of this is that as long as you're sober, we're going to feed you. And so they're helping the individual, but they're also helping the community. So these are really exciting areas. There are some other areas that are much more specialized, such as food as medicine, in the wellness space. There are urban farm reentry projects. It just goes on and on and on. If there is a community project, there is a way to bring food into it and making it a central part of the operation. So I'm just going to wrap up here and really talk about perhaps what I'm envisioning where you are right now. You've served, some of you for a few years and others for an entire career, but you're at a point where you get to recreate yourself. And to me, that's very exciting. And I understand for a lot of people, this can be a terrifying prospect, but it's also very liberating. So think about when you left high school, you left a lot of your nicknames and your reputation and all that behind. And this is going to be the same thing. You get to create your own course. It's going to be confusing at times. We speak a different language than you do. We have different values. Sometimes you're like, what planet are you guys from? But when you go into it kind of with an open mind, and I think of this in terms of, again, travel or living in another country. I can go in and get frustrated because I can't find what I'm looking for and that people don't understand me. But I can also just step back and go, wow, I am so lucky just to be hanging out in Spain and going to markets and seeing all this amazing products and eating this incredible food and learning so much and learning different viewpoints that, I think it's analogous to your job situation where you're going to go in and you got a lot of experience and you got a lot of great experience. And what is going to be hard is how to how to accept what you're seeing and hearing in the civilian world, and be patient enough that um, uh, what you're learning is gonna pay off. And so eh, I'm kind of inspired by a quote by Mark Twain. He goes, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, and discover. And that gets back to the point of, following your passion. I had no idea that I could make a career in food outside of a restaurant. And I had a really circuitous and bizarre way of getting there. Just observing and cooking in many countries, and then eventually starting my own culinary school. I will throw that out as again, whether it's in the culinary industry or otherwise. Uh, I would strongly suggest becoming an instructor in whatever area of expertise you are or have, if you can find that, because the instructor role or educator role, trainer role, gives you an entire industry and platform to see other opportunities. So, I can tell you it's disorienting. As you've been all over the world with your military service, you still had the structure of the military that followed you. You still had a commanding officer. You still had your fellow service members. But when you get out into another country or get out into the workforce, it's all new, and it can be overwhelming, and you can just like you be frustrated. You throw up your hands and go, I made a huge mistake in choosing this career path. I would just encourage you not to think that this isn't like marriage, that you're there and you got to stick with them till the end. You get to play around now. It's your time to explore, understand what you want, and I really believe that the world is going to respond. I would love to follow up with you. Rachel has my contact. If you have any questions, and again, whether it's related to culinary or not, whether it's related to you or a friend or a relative, it doesn't matter. I wish you a lot of luck. We work very, very intensely with veterans. Almost half our workforce is veterans since we got into the federal contracting space. And I'll leave you with that thought. We don't have any job openings right now, but we are a dynamic company. And when a project comes through, we have to immediately assemble a team. So if you are remotely interested in training, online training, logistics, culinary, or can give us any other interesting proposals, would love to continue that discussion. So I will stop there and take any questions or comments that you have.
Does anybody have any questions for Randall? Oh, we got one.
I do. Good day, Randall. I got a question for you.
Hey, Stephen.
From a culinary standpoint, which country that you've been to has inspired you the most or you've learned the most from?
Oh, I love that question. It has to be Japan. And I wasn't a big fan of Japanese food because it's too simple. I like things spicy. I like things, but once I got into and lived in Japan and I looked at the tradition, I looked at the nutritional reasons for what they ate, the simplicity of their food. I was hooked, and I'm still hooked. I adore Italian and Chinese food. Again, Italian because it's all about the product and simply presenting it. Chinese food, just the sheer diversity and the flavor. But without a doubt, Japan has blown my mind. Thanks for the question.
I got kind of an odd one for you. So, what's been the most like weird or bizarre, outlandish dish that you've eaten in all of your travels? There's got to be one that like stands out.
Oh, there's several. And I, the reason I went to culinary school is because I was a food historian. I was a food writer. And I thought, look, I can't write about food if I can't cook or can't cook professionally. So, one of the more strange dishes that I had, we refer to it as sheep's butt soup. And this is from the Caucasus, where they have fatty tail sheep, and it's a delicacy. And they actually have carts that they build to carry around the sheep's butt because it's so big and heavy. They couldn't carry it on their own. They are specially bred. It's pretty bizarre, but no pun intended. Um, when I was served that, I was quite taken aback. It was just big chunks of fat floating in a broth. And I ate it because I understood it was a gesture of great hospitality and sacrifice on their part. I've eaten plenty of strange things, but I tell you what, it's humbling when you go into a family and they have a dirt floor and they're killing a chicken for you and like, no, 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 no. But that's the hospitality that is displayed in many parts of the world that just blows your mind.
Yeah, it's very different when you get offered food and you're like, I don't know about this, but you do it anyway. So, well, all right. Is one last call. Anybody got any questions for Randall? Nope. Well, sir, thank you so much for coming and appreciate you sharing. And I think I've talked to him twice now, and I'm pretty sure that I could just listen to him talk all day about cool stuff. So, if anybody, I posted his LinkedIn in the chat, so y'all go check it out. And then you can put in your surveys if you want to talk to him anymore. So, thank you, sir. I appreciate you
Yeah,
coming.
thank you. I wish everybody the best of luck and don't hesitate to reach out. Be our pleasure. You guys take care. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.